Welcome to this special edition of Thrive for Life Live. Today, I'm so excited to be talking to five of the co-authors of the Made for More Physicians Entrepreneurs who live life and practice medicine on their own terms. So I'm so excited to have these. These are our obesity and lifestyle medicine physicians who are here to kind of talk about not only their chapter, but their story, their entrepreneurial journey. Now, for those who aren't aware, you can go to Amazon and actually pick up a copy. The Kindle is actually $1.99 for this week only. So definitely, you will be so inspired by these different chapters, and you will not regret it. So let's get started with introducing our panel. So we have Dr. Catherine Humer, who is the founder and CEO of Health, Wellness, and Weight Loss Centers, which is a virtual coaching platform for optimizing health and wellness through weight loss. Welcome, Dr. Humer.
Hello, thank you for having me.
We're so glad you're here too as well. And then also we have Dr. Manako Abi, who is a board certified in emergency medicine and lifestyle medicine. She is the CEO of the Lifestyle Medicine Japan and vice president of the Tokyo Cancer Clinic. And she's tuning in from Tokyo, Japan. So thank you so much for coming, Dr. Abe.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
And next we have Dr. Nikita Shah. She is board certified in family medicine and obesity medicine, and she is the CEO and founder of the Weight Sense Lake Nona Clinic in Orlando, Florida, where she delivers science-based medicine and personalized obesity treatment to help her patients overcome their obesity and improve their health for good. Welcome, Dr. Shah.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And last but not least, we have Dr. Camila Williams, who is a physician with a passion for holistic health. She is actually triple board certified in family medicine, obesity medicine, and lifestyle medicine. And she is the creator and host of the Single Well podcast and has a passion for helping single moms and women optimize their health and lives. Welcome, Dr. Williams.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here as well.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. And for those who don't know me, I'm your host, Dr. Alicia Shelley, and I'm the CEO or Thrive for Life Weight Loss and the host of the Back on Track Achieving Healthy Weight Loss podcast. I'm also board certified in internal medicine and obesity medicine, and I help my patients get started with their weight loss journey. So I've been reading this book. I was so inspired. I was telling them earlier, I have the Kindle version because my book has not come in the mail yet. Don't ask me. I'm in Atlanta and it's going to take them a whole week. Other people have gotten it already across town, but okay. But I was like taking notes. I was like just doing the Kindle quotes. Like this is some really good stuff. But Dr. Shah, let's start with you. In your chapter called Authentically Me, you discuss what led you to start your own online obesity medicine practice during COVID-19. Share a little bit more about that story and how that kind of came about.
Yeah, so actually that was for my employed practice. And what I realized is while my patients were furloughed and at home, they were really starting to gain weight. And I have my obesity medicine training. So I started to just deliver care like every week or two virtually. And it was amazing because my patients just started to like feel better, gain their health back, their anxiety went down, and they're really just gaining back their strength and vitality and feeling better during this really hard time, especially in the like hospitality industry in Orlando, Florida. So it was just fantastic. And I think that was the first time that it sparked inside me that there could be more beyond like my regular family medicine practice.
Wow. And so was it difficult for you to make that transition or was it just out of necessity?
No, it was, so I think it was like this ache inside of me and this heaviness, and that I just started to feel that there's more beyond my day-to-day as I was previously experiencing it. So like I was already at my dream job, had a great family, wonderful patients, but I felt like there could just be more in the way I served people. And I was really falling in love with obesity care, and I was always fond of psychology, mindset, and personal development. and I started to grow these skills, I realized I really wanted to shift into a new practice. But what was hard was I felt like I was disappointing people, like disappointing the people I worked with, disappointing my primary care patients. I also had this like part of me that felt like I was letting down primary care and family medicine in general. But I kind of just realized that it wasn't true. And I also wasn't being true to myself. So I started working on just envisioning my dream, and I started speaking it and sharing it with people. And I think that was probably one of the hardest things, is just to share people that I had changed and I had a new vision and a dream. So I think once I started saying it out loud, it started coming to life. And that's how I started my practice.
Wow, that's amazing. And I like how you mentioned the fact that you felt like you were letting, your patients down, your primary care patients, by just shifting to where your passion is. And so definitely that's something I struggle with too, because I do a combination of primary care and obesity care, and I'm like, well, what about my primary care patients? So I'm going to have to work with that. I'm going to have to work through that too as well. Well, I just want to say, post definitely where you're coming from and where you're watching for us today. We have actually Mrs. Punitha, who's coming all the way from Malaysia. So welcome from watching from Malaysia. Thanks for watching us and tuning in to the live. And anyone else, post where you're actually watching us from. We want to hear, because we're actually all over. We're not just in one city. I'm from Atlanta. Nikita, you're from Orlando. Dr. Abe is from Japan. Dr. Toomer, you're in the Carolinas. Is that right? And then Dr. Williams, you're in Cali?
Ohio.
Okay, Ohio. There we go. I got it wrong. So we're all over the U.S. coming here. So Dr. Abe, in your chapter, Creating the Life That You Want to Live, you talk about making the decision to move across the world to take over your father's cancer immunotherapy business. Can you describe how you overcame that fear of kind of stepping out of your comfort zone, and how you continue to get out of the comfort zone?
Right. So, yeah, I never thought that I grew up in Japan as a child and moved in since college. I worked and practiced in the United States in New York City for a long time in ER. I never thought I would return back to Japan. But there's always this turning point, I think. And just all the stars aligned, and I can talk about that later on. But that you have to decide what is important for yourself. What is the most important thing? And for me, it was really about family. And so for me, when my dad said, he's getting older, he's turning 85 this year and still practicing. Yeah, but, he really needed some help. And, I just felt like, this is my path. And it was super, super uncomfortable. I had to relearn the language, culturally, language, even the field, the whole field is just completely different from ER to practicing, oncology and lifestyle medicine. But I focused in on what my purpose is and what was most important to me first. And then I figured everything else will come. It's not easy, definitely not easy. But, you work through those things, and then you find your purpose and find a passion that aligns with what you want to do and make it work for your overall goals. So if that answers your question.
Yes, I like that. Finding your passion and letting it work for your overall goals. Well, Dr. Williams, in your chapter, you mentioned it entitled Embrace Discomfort to Elevate Your Dreams. You talk about how you left a large, secure practice and stepped into your discomfort and defined, debunked, and destroyed your limiting beliefs. Tell us about that process and how it freed you to go into a different direction.
Yeah, absolutely. What I found was that at the end of, I think it was the end of 2020, we had all been through a lot that year in medicine, but everywhere, in all parts of our lives were affected. I just really found myself rethinking my career and rethinking what would make me happy and where I should be. And I had started the process of joining EntreMD and trying to figure out what I wanted to do as far as a business and things like that. I had started my podcast earlier that year. And so I was like, there's got to be more to this. I really love this podcasting thing. Like, I want to find a way to do something else. But at the time, I had my family medicine certification, but I'm also a single mom. So I didn't have a lot of financial liberty to just up and quit my job. And so I discovered in starting the work with Dr. Una that I just had a lot of limiting beliefs. I had a lot of things that were holding me back. And I had to start thinking like, well, why can't I do this? And why do I think I can't do this? And so I took, and I talk about that in the chapter, I took a month and just wrote down 3 limiting beliefs every day, came up with 93 unique limiting beliefs, and realized that they were just, blocking my blessings, so to speak. I just wasn't able to get past them. And once I wrote them down, I found that even by the time I got to the 3rd one, I was feeling really ridiculous about writing down like, oh, I can't make money other than being a doctor, or, we won't have any money, or we will be, it's all these kind of crazy things that you think. I was really opened my mind to getting some of these things out, because sometimes when you write things down, it just gets it out of your brain and you can move on. And so it was a pivotal point for me. I ended up putting in my resignation that same month. I did it scared. I was terrified. I was shaking in my boots, but I did it and took a chance on going from basically, family medicine is always full-time. Anything over 20 hours is basically full-time, but going from like mostly, high part-time to 10 hours a week, and taking the pay cut and doing all that was just a huge leap. But it ended up landing me in my purpose and landing me in doing work that I was passionate about, and understanding that I could be a physician in practice and be really, really happy. So that's what that exercise led to. It really changed my life.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I probably need to do that as well. Just list out the limiting beliefs, and then each day going through and saying why did this affect us? Well, we want to welcome a couple people who are joining us. We have Deborah Clark from Powder Springs, Georgia, and I am Tehran Lamb from Chicago. So welcome to the show. We're happy to see you guys here. And last but not least, Dr. Toomer, in your imposter syndrome, in the chapter entitled Imposter Syndrome and the Other Lies We Tell Ourselves, along that same lines of limiting beliefs, you talk about how you started your own practice at the age of 51. Tell us more what kind of led you to that, and what did you have to overcome to get there?
Well, what led me to that was my health. I created my program to get myself healthy 20 years ago, but I wasn't able to use it in practice. I just didn't have the support and the time to do a lot of the prevention that I really wanted to do, and primarily prevention through weight loss, because as we often know, people assign their weight to a lot of things. So when you offer weight loss, they will come to you because they think that that's the cause of their problems. And then you can fix what's actually wrong, which is often something else. And so I found that I wanted to do that, but I couldn't. And I got very, very frustrated. And even though I was working part-time in family medicine, I was a community health physician. So I was working in underserved areas. It was a lot of work, a lot of people with a lot of illness, and I couldn't help them. And that frustration started making me ill again. And so I realized I had to stop just to save my life. And so I stopped. I opened up a micro practice to keep my overhead down so that I could just practice the way I wanted, hour-long appointments. I use a biopsychosocial system, so I do a lot of counseling and a lot of family fixing, job fixing. It's like it's career, it's family, it's all those things. And so I just created something where I could see 5 patients a month and still cover my expenses, because I didn't want to go into debt at that age. I had finally had no student loan debt at all, and so I wasn't about to go back into debt again. So So that's why I decided to do that 50. And so it also freed up my time. I could relax into my life. I wasn't ready to stop, but I could start to enjoy my life, my children, my husband, my labradoodles. I just and this is what helped me do that.
Well, thank you so much. And I know, I know there's with that starting your own practice, there were some obstacles that you had to face. What were some of those obstacles? I know in the chapter you talk about imposter syndrome, but was that one of the obstacles? And if so, what other obstacles did you face as well?
Well, I didn't face imposter syndrome. I kept being told I had imposter syndrome, and I couldn't figure out what it was at first.
Mhm.
And it was almost as if I was trying to assign it to myself because everyone kept telling me I had it. And I think it's because everyone thought I should have it. and then the more I studied it, the more I looked into it. I was like, I don't have imposter syndrome. And the reason everyone kept saying is like because I was scared. I would say I'm scared of this, or I'm scared of that, or I'm nervous about, or I'm nauseous about. I'm about to do this and it's making me nauseous. And it was like, oh, that's just your imposter syndrome flaring up. And I'm like, huh? But I felt nauseous when I went to med school. And when I started my first day of med school, I was ready to vomit when I ran my first code. I mean, I just didn't understand. I was like, but no one said anything about imposter syndrome then. And so I realized that a lot of what I've done in my life has been very, very hard. And one of the things that many of us who are in EntreMD business school here often is that, we do hard things. And so I kept thinking, I have done harder things than this. And no one ever said I had imposter syndrome. I can do this also.
Wow.
And my, having 2 near-death experiences sort of taught me, I have this philosophy, if it's not going to kill me, then do it. And that's essentially it's like the worst thing that can happen. I have to close my office and, tuck my tail and go home. That's not gonna, what's that gonna do? Nothing.
You would still be alive, like you said.
Exactly.
It's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill you.
Exactly.
I do want to bring up one of the quotes you had. Let me see if I can bring it up. It's where you discuss the how imposter syndrome is. Of course, you can never find it when you're looking for it now, but it's the quote that you talk about with how imposter syndrome is a negative introspection.
Mm-hmm.
Let me
Yes.
pull it up here.
It's imposter syndrome. We are, when we're not doing anything with our minds, if we're not focused on something, our mind, we chatter to ourselves and we talk to ourselves. And what we say to ourselves sort of dictates which direction we go. And if it's a negative narrative, then it affects us in everything. It affects our interactions, it affects our relationships, it affects our health, it affects those things. And imposter syndrome is a negative introspection. It's negative chatter because what it says is that I'm not supposed to be here. I shouldn't be doing this, And as we know in medicine, a syndrome is something that can't be cured. But so, by assigning what are normal feelings of growth to a syndrome pathologizes growth.
Yeah.
And so we're stagnant. And so, that's where, that comes from. So you have to be very, very careful what we assign to ourselves, what we say to ourselves. And I still catch myself, it's just that the limiting chatter. And I also say that one of the things that I do is I'm constantly telling myself positive things so that shouts and the negative stuff only whispers.
I like that. I like that. So the positive thing shouts, but the negative whispers. Yes. Yes. Okay. And I just want to read the quote here. It says, Dr. Ethan Cross, who's a professor, psychologist, and neuroscientist at University of Michigan, states that the silent conversations we have with ourselves influence how we live our lives and when our brain is not occupied with other tasks. Talking to ourselves is our default mode, And when we talk to ourselves, we listen. Cross emphasizes that negative introspection puts our performance, decision making, relationships, happiness, and our health in jeopardy. And in my opinion, claiming imposter syndrome is that negative introspection. So I love that quote from you. I'm going to switch gears and talk a little bit to Nikita, Dr. Shaw, excuse me. What were some obstacles you faced with starting your journey, and maybe how did you overcome that?
So I think one of the biggest obstacles is recognizing our own bandwidth, or recognizing my own bandwidth, and then like the gap between my reality of how many hours are in a day and what I want to give into my practice, and then also in other areas of my life, because I'm not trying to recreate a pattern of burnout. And then like recognizing that gap and the dream, and knowing that that dream, it's almost like I can see it and I know all the steps that need to occur. But the reality is like I have so many hours in a day, and to get to that dream, it's going to take time. But I think it's really just for me, it's knowing that like this is the process of growth, and like it's not the destination, but it is the journey. So that's one of the biggest obstacles I think as entrepreneurs is like, we get so many ideas and we'll want to implement so many changes, or there's things that we want to do. We have to like tame it down and really pick like a few things. But I think Dr. Una really says that like great. And it made me recognize I'm not broken, but like we just have lots of ideas and lots of things we want to do and lots of ways we want to help people. And I could probably like try my best to get them all off my plate and do them, but then I would lose myself in the process. So that's one of my challenges day to day, is just like recognizing my bandwidth and knowing that I can do this much, or like I'm choosing to do this much because this is what I want to handle, because there's so many other like things in my life that I also enjoy outside of medicine as well.
No, I love that. Just being like you said, knowing what you can handle, having that bandwidth is always a huge obstacle, especially when you're undertaking like a new business. You want to do everything all at once, which can make it difficult. Dr. Abby, what are some obstacles that you face either while starting your journey or throughout your journey?
So, unlike a lot of people that are in, the entrepreneur business school, it's like I never wanted to be an entrepreneur, which is, it sort of happened by accident, right? I always figured I wanted to work in an ER, just clock in, clock out, give it my all while I was working. And then when I got home, I didn't have to carry a pager, or pager, that dates me, but no one could call on me, right? Unless there was like, a big mass casualty or something. So, but after a while, the thing that really got me, and what got me tuned into lifestyle medicine, was that I realized 80% of the patients that came through our doors, it could have been prevented. Whether it was, heart attack, high blood pressure, strokes, addiction issues, accidents, right? All of these things could have potentially been prevented. So that's sort of what got me turned into lifestyle medicine. And then when I ended up moving to Japan to start this, support my dad with his practice, I was like, well, there's so much that we can do, like even in the space of cancer and obesity, right? They say 40% of cancers in the US are directly caused by obesity. So, I mean, it is a huge problem. And there's so much that we can do about it. And people need to know that they have agency and that there are things in their control that they can actually do. And then I think that because doctors are all about service. It's like, what can we help other people with? And they needed to know. So it became something that's outside of me, So it's not about me. It's about our patients, and it's about how we can help other people. And that's the sort of mindset shift, I think, that this group really helped me with, to get out of my discomfort. And, it's like, and, so what if I'm shy and introverted and I don't want to go out and give public talks, right? Because it's not about me. It's about what other people need. And then thinking it in those terms, I think, brought me out of doing things, from my standpoint, and just doing things because other people need to hear what I need to say. If that makes sense.
No, that's beautiful, because sometimes you forget that you don't know there's somebody that needs to hear what you have to say. And would you, I don't think we covered this in their intro. Would you mind maybe just sharing kind of the work that you and your father has done in immunotherapy?
Right. Yeah. So what we do here is really unique. It's not available in most countries, including the United States. So this was absolutely brand new work to me. So what we do is called, it's a type of regenerative medicine or cellular therapies. So what we do is we actually extract the patient's blood. You have cancer, we take out their blood and we isolate out their immune cells, because our immune cells is essentially what fights against your own cancer. It has the ability to recognize and cause your own immunity to fight against your cancer. So we extract their immune cells, we grow them out, multiply them to the billions in a lab. We actually train them to be able to recognize your cancer by creating cancer vaccines, and also just natural killer cells, which are immune cells that can naturally target your cancer cells. And we create a cellular vaccine called a dendritic cell vaccine. So these are targeted to, like, when you go to the doctor and you get your biomarkers, whether it's HER2 or, for breast cancer or PSA, those are proteins that are on cancer cells. And if you know that those markers are elevated in you, you can actually train your cancer cells, or train your immune cells to attack those cancer cells that have those biomarkers on them. So we use that sort of technology to create individualized cancer vaccines and also immune cells to target your cancer. So, I mean, it's really kind of really cool, mind-blowing work. But I felt like that wasn't enough. Because in all of medicine, in all of Western medicine, modern medicine, it's like you target the disease without really treating the whole person. So I think that's when my passion with lifestyle medicine, and there's so many things that you can do to support yourself, to boost your immune system, to really heal yourself while other treatments are, trying to heal you. So I started doing cancer coaching and lifestyle medicine coaching. So, it's a whole mindset, body, and also your immune system. And that's what we try to bring together at our clinic.
And my understanding is that you have people from all over the world that comes to your clinic in order for treatment, right?
Right. They do, because it's a type of treatment that's really not available in a lot of most countries. So we do have international patients, that come here.
Well, thank you. So, Dr. Williams, what were some of the obstacles you faced while either starting your journey or throughout your journey that you faced so far? And how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so mine really has been kind of the ups and downs. I too originally was adamant I wasn't becoming an entrepreneur. I just wanted to have something else to do and outside of medicine. But when I started to really understand what it meant to be an entrepreneur and then eventually an intrapreneur, I really understood that there was a lot that I could do. And so, I kind of, dipped my toe in coaching for a while when I first left my job. And, for me, it wasn't something I particularly enjoyed. And I was like, this is something that we have to be, this is your time in life where you have to be comfortable doing what you're doing. You have to be not necessarily comfortable, but you know what I mean, where you actually enjoy it. I was like, you've spent years doing something that eventually you just didn't enjoy. So finding things that made me happy. And so my biggest obstacle was that, kind of the end of the year last year, kind of coming to terms with that. What is it that I really want to do? Do I want to continue to try to build a business with coaching? Do I want to do something else with myself in that realm? Do I want to really, dig my heels in with, full-time work? Because at that point, I really loved my work and I still do. And so I was like, I've not been in this position before. Usually work was the thing that was kind of the thorn in my side. So I had to make a decision because I also hadn't dealt with the burnout. And I found that I was trying to replace that work by just keeping myself busy. And, once I got to the end of the year, my son went with his dad for Christmas out of town. And while I was okay with that, it just allowed me some reflection time. And I was like, okay, I've got to figure out what I want to do. I had a lot of financial changes last year or in 2021, all of these things going on. So there was a lot of obstacles to that end. But I ended up just starting to take steps. And what I found was that going through this process becoming an entrepreneur, understanding entrepreneurship, understanding entrepreneurship, it gave me so much confidence to be able to ask for what I wanted. I decided I wanted to work full time, so I asked for that and I got it. I decided that I wanted to rework some of the stuff I was doing for myself behind the scenes. I decided that I wanted a house cleaner. I mean, just all of these things that you don't normally do, that I normally would be like, oh, what will people think? And I realized that my life has completely changed because I was willing to face those obstacles, learn about them, learn new techniques to deal with them, and then, keep moving forward. So there were quite a few obstacles, but they really have helped me become who I am today.
And just for our audience who may not know, what's an entrepreneur?
So an entrepreneur is someone that has an employed position, because something I love that Dr. Una always says is that we're not trying to take doctors away from medicine. And that was something that was important to me. As a Black physician, I felt like I was leaving my patients, high and dry. I just really had a hard time with that. A lot of them sought me out and really felt like I was family. And here I am, going off into the sunset to do who knows what, according to how they felt about it. So an entrepreneur is someone who has their own personal brand. You don't have to have a business per se that's tied to you, but you are the business. You're the person that is, representing yourself with your employment, with any kind of other endeavors you take. For me, I do some public speaking. So that is my brand. Whatever I bring to that, to any environment I'm in is my personal brand. And so I've really worked a lot on that. I've been, asked to do different speaking gigs, including like career days and stuff, which are so much fun. But just being able to take my experiences, my unique experiences, and bring them to any environment I'm in, including the one that I'm employed in, is really truly entrepreneurship. And it's something I never thought about doing, but it's very it's a much different. You present yourself way more different when you have been through that and you understand it more deeply. So.
Well, thank you. You mentioned burnout as one of your obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, Dr. Toomer, reduce your burnout or avoid burnout as an entrepreneur?
Well, I started out by limiting my schedule right off the bat. Okay. Mondays are my day to organize. Fridays are my day to reflect and to pretty much put in whatever I want, like fun stuff or, reading and relaxing or, Netflixing, whatever. So what I do is I concentrate all of my work, which doesn't feel like work because I love it, but on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then I limit the amount of time within that each day. And so usually my patient time or my client time is usually about 15 hours a week. And then some of the, and then I have email time and all the rest. But also what that does is it gives me, I'm flexible. So if there are people who need evening hours, I can just not start my schedule for that day until the evening. And so, so that works out nicely. So one thing I don't do is I don't have a morning schedule and an afternoon schedule. It's either one or the other. And so that's how I've avoided burnout. And I'm very good about my boundaries. I'm very quick to say no, and I don't explain myself when I do.
I love that, Dr. Toomer. Say no.
I mean, that's the beauty of being older. You're gonna learn.
We need to have more interviews. We just get wisdom right there. We're just like, no, I can't.
I'll be 58 this year. So I'm just like, I'm at the point where I don't have to explain myself anymore. If I say no, it's no. My children are adults, and my husband's very supportive and laid back. He's like, whatever you want to do, you do it. And but it does give me, my parents are older. My father passed away in 2020 at 90. My mother's 93. My father-in-law just passed away at 90. My mother-in-law is 83. And I have the freedom to really work from anywhere at any time. And so I go up and fly to see my mother, stay with her for a week. I just came back from a week, almost 2 weeks with my mother-in-law, helping her with funeral arrangements. I'm going to do it again next week. And, so that's what the freedom that being an entrepreneur has given me.
That flexibility to work anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to pose this to the panel, and anyone can answer. What do you do to overcome burnout? I mean, not overcome, but to prevent burnout. What are some things you have in place for that?
So we're all like obesity medicine, lifestyle medicine. I think we're all full of mindfulness practices. So my top 5 are, I think we all probably have these: resting, eating well, connecting with my family, my loved ones, exercise, and then at the end of it, I just feel like it's putting myself first, not second, not third, not fourth, not myself as a mother, not myself as a business owner, not myself as a wife, like literally just me as a whole person, putting myself first and then making decisions based on that.
I love that. Putting yourself first. That is definitely wisdom. What about you, Dr. Abe or Dr. Williams? Anything that you all do to prevent burnout? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love what Dr. Shaw said. And for me, it's still a work in progress. I felt like I was kind of like running myself to the bone like last year. But like I created a vision board for this year. And on the very top of it is be present, also connect, and live life fully. And if there's one thing that I learned from my patients and clients, it's like they can be faced with the stage 4 cancer and be so full of joy, so full of life, really living each day, taking every day, like not taking taking anything for granted. Like every day is precious. And I learned so much from them. And it is such a joy. And I realized that, my bank account may not reflect wealth, but yet, but I am so wealthy in everything else. And to have that gratitude, like I have a beautiful family, I have a wonderful life, I'm healthy, I'm here now, and to just not take anything for granted and just to have gratitude. And I think that definitely helps.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Being grateful, having gratitude. Anything else that you do, Dr. Williams, to help prevent burnout?
Well, those are all really, really great things that I have done myself. This is not a flex or anything, but this big machine behind me is part of my burnout cure. The Peloton, it's something I've done for years. I've loved spinning for. See, it's not just me. I did spinning for years and just kept thinking it's too big of a purchase. It's too big of a purchase. And finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm at home. I'm working from home. I need something that's going to make me move. And so doing that helps me even when I just don't want to do it. It just changes my day. And then something else, and that's what I tell people when they ask me, like, what exercise do you do? I'm like, the one that you'll do, whatever it is that you'll do, you do it. And so then the other thing is delegation. That's been a big one for me because somehow, especially working from home, you think you can do everything while you're working full time. You can't. I'm just going to ruin that for you. So I had to get over the fact that, I can clean, I can do this, I can do that. So now I find things to delegate. I find things to pay someone else to do that I don't want to do or can't do. And I let them do it. And I'm okay with that. My son was asking about, we're in the process of looking for a home. And, he was starting to ask about like a fish tank and something else. And it was so funny how fast I started thinking about who I would have to pay to come clean this fish tank. And he's looking at me like, well, it's just, I'm like, no, because I'm not going to want to clean it. So we're going to have to pay someone to clean it. So that kind of stuff, like I just think that way now. And it saves me so much burnout and just perseveration over the long run.
So that is so true. We definitely need to delegate. One question, what is it something, anybody can answer this. What is one thing or maybe two things that you do either on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis to kind of move your business forward? What is it that you make sure that you're doing consistently to move your business forward? Or was there something that you've done in the past to move your business forward too?
My biggest one is being a member of the EntreMD Business School. Like each week, we have a a lesson. We learn something to implement into our practice or into our business, and it just creates that accountability in that system. So it's almost automated. Like I show up and I just try to do what Dr. Una tells me to do, and we grow.
Sometimes you just have to do it. You just do what she says. Do it even when you're uncomfortable. Anyone else? What do you all do on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis to move your business forward?
Well, for me, I started thinking in terms of customer service. Um, when thinking about clients or patients, I would think, okay, I would just think in terms of their transformation, in terms of what I could provide them. But then I realized that my attention wasn't just when we're face to face, that they want some attention outside of that. And so emails became important. Having a way for people to contact me easily became important. Even if I don't respond, if I got someone else to respond, like, Dr. Williams said, I delegate some of it just to say, Dr. Toomer knows you wrote to her and she will get back to you as soon as she can, was just enough to say, to keep people from getting frustrated. Because I realized that there are lots of different layers to helping people. And it's not just my knowledge. There's other things. And so that's what I've learned. And so I spend every day going through emails. I used to let them accumulate. I don't do that anymore.
No, I like that. Sometimes it's hard. Those emails can add up. But you're right. If we delegate, it makes it a lot easier. What do you do on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, Dr. Abe, to move your business forward?
I think it's about consistency,
Mm-hmm.
right? To even when you don't feel like it, and it kind of ties back to Dr. Toomer's customer service. Like I have a weekly newsletter that goes out to my clients and people who follow me, a Monday motivation that, is just a little something that can help somebody who might be going through an issue that week. And I have done this for maybe a year and a half now, but I've not yet, knock on wood, missed, my weekly email. And I know that people look forward to it and they're kind of depending on it. And that, sometimes it may not speak to them, sometimes it might, but I think the key is just being consistent because it's something that people are depending on and expecting. And I think that's the key when it comes to customer service and helping.
Awesome. So be consistent. Be consistent. Anything that you do, Dr. Williams?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a combination. I spoke earlier on, how I show up in the world, my authenticity, and I kind of work on that. It seems like it would come naturally, but sometimes we kind of shy away from those things that make us unique and make us different. And I've been learning to really show up as myself and also put myself in the person that I serve, put myself in their shoes, thinking about what kind of things they might be, that might resonate with them. Something that I do a lot is with having my own weight and health struggles, really speaking to people about my own, experience with that has really built that personal brand and that personal touch. Being willing to take the extra mile. I think, it's kind of a slippery slope because in medicine, we become kind of customer service technicians. And you don't want to go to that extreme, but it's just really, how can I show up well for this person that's in front of me, whether it's, somebody that I'm actually, working with and being paid to serve, whether it's somebody at the grocery store, or somebody I'm waiting on me at a restaurant, like whoever it is, that I show up as my best self genuinely in that moment. I mean, it really goes a long way. I've had a lot of people, reach out to me just because of that, because they've seen me do things or been around me when I've done certain speaking engagements and different things. And so it just really being authentic and really working on that and not kind of trying to fit myself in a little box all the time.
That's right. People will put you in boxes, so you don't have to put yourself in a box. Just be authentically you. I love that. I love that. Well, what is the biggest lesson that you have learned so far in your journey as an entrepreneur? What is the biggest lesson? Anybody can go.
Biggest lesson?
Okay, or maybe multiple,
There's
right?
so many. I guess the biggest lesson I had to learn for me, especially since as I've getting older, is that time is a social construct. I'm not running out of it, and there's no. I'm not running a race. My pace is my own. My my business is my own, and what I want for my business, I can have realistically. Just I need to be realistic about the amount of time it takes to get to where I want to be, and then give myself grace if my expectation. Well, I actually removed those expectations. I've stopped expecting things in time, and that's actually been one of the biggest gifts I've given myself, and one of the biggest lessons I've learned. Just don't become a slave to time.
So don't be a slave to time and remove your expectations. Just don't even do it. I love that. Anyone else? What is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned so far?
I would say it's about finding who you are at your core and to just authentically be you. Right? You can't operate from that feeling of scarcity or I'm not enough or questioning yourself. I won't say imposter syndrome. But if you're so worried about what other people might think or what you're supposed to be doing or supposed to be, throw all that out the window, because you cannot be authentically you and then connect with your patients or connect with your audience. It's just all about just being comfortable in your own skin. And I think I was so uncomfortable in my own skin for so many years. And then just finally just being okay with who I am and be yourself and be authentic. I think that's my takeaway.
Anyone else? Miss Dr. Shaw, Dr. Williams?
I think I think one of the biggest lessons is also recognizing that there's other industries that we can pull and learn from. So I think that I reflect many times on like what other physicians are doing or what I know about medicine in general. But there is so much to learn from other industries, other authors, other business leaders, and we can pull from it and apply it in our day to day. And I think that's actually been a little bit more fun, is to like see what other people do and how we can apply it to ourselves in our practice. So I think that's been the best part of all of this, is just learning that there's entrepreneurs from all walks of life. People can sell and make things and just be super passionate about it. And they have the same exact passions that we do, but we're in medicine and they're in a different field, but there's still this common ground. So I think it's fun.
No, I agree with you. There's so much that we can learn from others in different industries, different industries. So there's so much more that kind of pulls us together instead of that separates us. Dr. Williams, what's the biggest lesson you've learned?
I learned the most from, and I've been told this before, and I didn't believe it, but I learned the most from preparing a resume as if I wasn't a doctor. Really thinking about all of the different things that I do. And, they have these like resume builders and things. And when I started to really look at some of the things that were on there, you're like, oh, nobody does all of that. But we do all of those things, just the little tasks that we have to do just to do our jobs. And we always say we're just family docs, or we're just this, or we're just that. But I mean, just doing that job for so long taught me so many skills that have translated into just work I never thought I would be doing. I mean, just, it's amazing. So what that taught me, and what I now tell residents. I'm like that, I've become the one that they turn to, like, oh, you've been in practice for a while. What do you recommend we do? And I just tell them to live, and I tell them to keep track of the other skills that they have. Find that thing that you love and do it, and continue doing it, even though you're going to be going through a lot and your training and all of that. But also understand all of the things you can do. We are really lied to and told that all we can do is be a doctor, which is a lot. But it's, I was told that by some of my patients when I left, oh, you're going to throw it away, and it's like, oh my gosh. So there's ways to, flex your creativity and, learn to do other things, like Nikita said, just really having those other skills has been the most eye-opening thing to me, and really understanding that I don't have to learn a bunch of other things. Of course, I went and got 2 more board certifications because that's what we do, but you don't have to have those things. You have plenty just from what you've learned and living life. Some of my skills come from me being a mom. It's not me being a doctor. So you know a lot, you do a lot, leverage that.
I love it. So leverage that. It's kind of funny when I think of when we were going or applying to medical school, they wanted people from diverse backgrounds, who not necessarily your biology major, but maybe somebody who did like, law or something like that, or English, and then went into medical school. And so it's funny that you said the small things that make us unique is what propels us, as we move along. And so I love the theme, being authentic to us all. So next, what is your vision for your business? Where do you see yourself going in the next year or the next 2 years? Where do you see yourself? Anybody want to share what's your vision for your business?
I can share. It's funny. I got busy with my employment and my work, and I love it so much that it kind of took some of that passion, and I'm putting it to use. You know what I mean? But I really want to get back to pouring into single moms. I realized that my experience during this time, going from working in person to working from home, and how that's impacted my son in a positive way, and things like that. And some of the things we go through, he gets in trouble at school like other kids. So like, just thinking about when I go through those things, those are things people want to hear about. Those are things people learn from. And I really want to start using that and sharing that, because I think when people see my experience, I think that's what this book does. People don't think of us as humans. You sometimes have to remind them that we're humans. And I think that's going to really humanize us. And that's what I want to bring to the world, on top of the work that I do every day, having my own outlet of something I can share from my personal life that might help other people. So I really want to tap into that in a different way than I have before, a more personal way. So
I love that. I love that. Anyone else want to share? What's your vision for your business going forward in the next 1 or 2 years? Where do you see yourself?
I won't recognize my business in 2 to 3 years.
I love it. You're going to look back and be like, what was that?
Yeah. I mean, where I am right now is temporary. And so, because I don't know what's coming, all these opportunities are coming at me. I'm taking them, and I just know where I was 2 years ago doesn't look anything like where I am right now. So I'm just assuming that where I'll be 2 to 3 years from now won't look like anything I am now either. And so, so what I envision my business being in 2 to 3 years is different, but just as impactful.
Yeah, I like that. Different but impactful. All right, Dr. Shaw, Dr. Abe, where do you see your business in the next 1 to 2 years?
I'm going to kind of take Dr. Toomer's lead here, that I don't know if I can really see what's out there in 2 years, but this year, I just want to help as many people in Florida treat their obesity and transform their health. And I just want to, at this point, do it one person at a time. And learn from that. And my dream is, as I keep learning about the ways that really help people, then share that with a larger audience.
I love it. Just continue to be impactful and just share, and change people's lives. Dr. Abe, where do you see yourself?
Yeah, so COVID has been really hard for us because Japan was in shutdown for almost all of it. And we just really opened back up last fall. So we are still in the process of recovery. But I feel that there's so much that we have to offer that is just widely unknown. So I really want to make my voice known, to really shout from the rooftops, like there's this treatment that you can, that's available to you. And I just want to help as many people as we can, both emotionally, mentally, from a lifestyle standpoint, and from an immune therapy standpoint. So I really, really hope to grow this practice and to be able to reach as many people as I can.
Yes, wonderful. Well, last question. What advice do you give to somebody who's just starting out in this entrepreneurial journey? What advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out in their entrepreneurial journey?
I would say expect to be scared and keep doing it anyway.
Expect to be scared and keep doing it anyway. All right, I like that one.
I think I have 3. Keep your head high, grow your support team, and then if you feel a little nauseous, that's appropriate.
Get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable without being nauseous. All right, I love it. I love that. Anyone else?
So find your community. There's so much support. There's so many people. You feel like you're all alone out there, but you're really not. And there's so many people who are going through what you are going through. It's okay to feel scared. It's okay. You're supposed to feel scared. If you feel scared and comfortable, then you're on the right track. And just find your community that you can draw support from.
Like that. Find your community. That definitely makes sense. If you find the place where you belong, it makes it so much easier. So much easier. All right, Dr. Williams, take us home. What advice would you give someone who's just starting out?
I was going to say that it just really doesn't happen overnight. I was in a lot of different spaces, somebody mentioned, getting around people doing other professions and things. And I did a lot of that due to Clubhouse, that became a big thing during the pandemic. And just hearing other people's experiences and things made me think that entrepreneurship would happen overnight. You would just switch, just like you change jobs, you just go from having a full-time doctor job to being a full-time entrepreneur. And I realized that wasn't realistic, that it takes time, that it takes, a lot of grit, a lot of patience, a lot of nausea to get through it. And a lot of changes, I think we get, I know myself, I kind of get I shy away from those changes every time I make a change or I'm not doing something that I said I would do. I feel like I failed somehow. But really, this is just the normal process of finding that sweet spot of where I ultimately want to be and trying different things and being open to doing other things. And so it doesn't happen overnight. You just have to keep working at it, do the things that you love. But, give yourself some grace.
I like it. So what I'm hearing you say is that you should just kind of pack your anti-nausea medication for this ride because you're going to need it. But
I think we're all experts at being nauseous.
And of course, I would have to add, being nauseous, being afraid is not imposter syndrome. It's just normal.
It's normal. Yes. So just know it's normal. You're not doing it right if you're not nauseous. You need to do more. Well, if we could go around and just kind of share how somebody can come and work with you if they're interested in working with you. We can start with you, Dr. Shaw.
So I'm Dr. Shaw. I'm in Orlando, Florida, and I'm the owner of Weight Sense Lake Nona. So you can find me at weight-sense.com or on Instagram at Nikita Shaw DO.
Go ahead, Dr. Abby.
Okay, so if you're interested in what we have to offer in terms of immune cell therapy, you can find us at tokyocancerclinic.jp instead of .com. And for this treatment, you actually have to fly into Japan. But, it's just a little vacation, right? I do work with clients all around the world when it comes to the cancer coaching and the lifestyle medicine and mindset coaching. So you can find me on drminako.com. And I have a website there that explains what I do in terms of the coaching.
All right, Dr. Williams.
So yeah, just for me, I'm mostly an entrepreneur right now. So you can follow me on Instagram. I'm probably the most active there at Dr. Mila MD.
Dr. Toomer?
The best place to find me is drtoomer.com, and all of my stuff is there.
Well, and I'm your host, Dr. Shelley, and you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Shelley MD, and also my podcast, I'm Back on Track, Achieving Healthy Weight Loss. I'm so excited that you guys came and just brought the knowledge of entrepreneurship and just shared your story. Thank you all for being so transparent and just taking out that time. And if you have not bought the book called Made for More, Physician Entrepreneurs Who Live Life and Practice Medicine on Their Own Terms, you need to get it. You need to get it. See, Dr. Abe is holding it up. It is on Amazon. Dr. Nikita Shaw has hers. You can get it on Amazon this week. It stops on Monday. It is $1.99 on the Kindle version. And if you don't have a Kindle, that's okay. Just be like me and just get the app, and you can just read it on the app. So definitely get Made for More. We want to thank everyone for coming. And if you didn't know, the book is #1 bestseller on Amazon. So you guys are in for a treat. So congratulations, docs. And thank you all for watching. And if you are watching this on a replay, put replay in the comments so we can see and tell us where you're replaying from. Thank you again, and we'll see you all next time.